This is Xuchang, a tiny city of just 4.4 million people in central China. But it makes nearly $2.5 billion annually from one commodity, wigs. How did they do it?
About 6 in every 10 wigs in the world is made in this city.
And it all starts here.
你这个是101克，我给你算一下多少钱啊？101乘以4，404，我给你转405吧，行吧？
好。
行。
可以。
Mr. Zheng is a hairdresser. To get a haircut here, customers are not the ones who are paying.
顾客过来主要是头发的长度、幅度、发质，跟这3个方面去给它个定价。单价的话，平均的话一般都是3000到50001公斤不等，均价基本上都是大差不差。就是这个每个头剪下来的话，大概就是说从200到600之间吧，除非这头发特别长，头发特别多，那样的话能卖1000多，或者说2000。
Beautiful locks of virgin hair that's never been dyed, curled, bleached, or permed. In Xuchang, this is black gold.
63克，3000块钱1公斤，189。你先收，你先行。
没有想到会卖这么多吧？因为平时在理发店嘛，都是我们掏钱，然后我们给人家钱，然后剪头发。然后这次来这里是人家给我们钱，然后挺开心的。
收了之后，也回到这个假发工厂，就是许昌不是也是全国有名的假发基地嘛，党发基地，都是回到厂里边做假发，或者做其他这个发条、发板或者是其他什么的。
Here's an entire street dedicated to wig products. Come follow me.
原来假发呢，戴假发是一种私密的这种，不想让别人知道这个事情，然后就是一种病理和生理的需求，是一种脱发、掉发、秃发或者是化疗。增长呢，现在是国内市场增长的比例比较高一些，在40%以上，甚至更高一些。
这是我家，请进。
I followed the trail of black gold to a place called Xiaogong Village in Henan province.
这是俺这儿的原材料。
Here, I'm told by locals, nearly every household is engaged in the wig trade. 45-year-old Miss Zheng grew up in this village.
这个是你们从外面收购回来的
啊？是，这是从外边收购了的原材料。这大概就是100点左右。
多少钱这样？
这个值个30万块吧。
While her husband is out buying hair from across the country, she's at home, supervising the 7 villages she's hired to help her with the organizing and grading of raw hair. She pays them around $1.80 per hour for 10 hours a day.
弄回来全是乱的，然后挑分个黑色的、黄色的，分这2种颜色，然后叫挂伞，然后再拔上2头尖，就这一种呀，拔上这种，然后上鼻子。 再拉成分档拉，就是长的一档，短的一档，分一层一层的拉，就是然后都组成成品了，绑成板儿都可以了。
In Xuchang, 1 in every 15 residents are employed in the wig industry. At the heart of this hairy business is one company that's grown so successful, the city named a main street after it, Rebecca. The founder hails from Xiaogong village as well. Occasionally, it's possible to spot a flashy Porsche car parked in front of the company's original factory in the village.
This is very nice, right? This one is natural color black. You can see how silky this is, very soft.
Christy is from Congo, Central Africa. She is a full-time influencer working for Rebecca. She broadcasts every day from Xuchang City to audiences across America who are Rebecca's largest buyers.
我们公司是一家发制品专业公司，每年呢就是生产各类假发是3000多万套。另外，我们长丝项目每天生产，每年吧就是生产长丝是4000多万吨。
Its high-end wigs go for more than $1,000 a piece. The firm now has over 10,000 employees, with factories spanning Cambodia, Nigeria, Ghana, and Mozambique. Xuchang residents first began crafting wigs during the Ming Dynasty, according to the city's historical records. Industry players say before synthetic fiber was invented, horse or real human hair were collected to make beards and wigs for theatrical performances.
许昌发展这个假发，它有这个得天独厚的优势啊，它就是我们这边是一个原材料的集散地。就像我们许昌的静安区的全店啊，都是这个从清朝末年，他们都有加工人发的原材料的手工作坊。
Mr. Lee is a third-generation wig maker. His grandmother began processing hair for the theatre industry. Now, he started his own e-commerce business exporting synthetic wigs to the United States. Mr. Lee learned the art of wig making from his grandma and uncle. He's so familiar with the process that he can tell me just how much hair I have on my head.
就像黑人，咱们的黑头发大概就是10万根左右。像白人的就是棕发嘛，棕色的头发大概就是12万根左右。 还有一批人就是用他们头发长得比较发红、红色的头发的，他们大概就是有7万根到9万根之间，他们的头发是丝质比较粗的。
Industry players say about 30 to 40% of wigs in Xuchang come from backyard workshops or small and medium enterprises like Mr. Lee's, whose factory is on the second floor of a building with no signboard.
About 20 minutes drive from the city center is a cluster of villages like this one. They're known colloquially as the wig villages. That's because nearly every business here is related to the hair trade. There are hundreds of nondescript factories and workshops, as well as stores selling accessories, packaging materials, synthetic fibers, and together they make up a complete ecosystem for the wig business.
About 70% of China's wigs are made for the export market, but that is gradually changing as the National Health Commission released some hair-raising statistics. 1 in 6 Chinese are losing hair. 84% of under 30s are experiencing hair loss. That's 20 years earlier than the previous generation. But these days, for some, wearing a wig is more of a fashion statement. The revival of ancient Chinese fashion, known as Hanfu, a style of traditional robes worn before the Qing dynasty, also contributes to the demand for wigs, as more young people embrace their cultural heritage.
For many generations, residents in this village in the north of Vietnam make their living on rice and vegetable farms like this. But China's demand for raw human hair has sparked a new industry in this region. These are the hands and faces behind Vietnam's human hair industry that exports thousands of tons of hair to international markets each year.
Cuối năm 2012 thì em bắt đầu làm xưởng về làm cái nghề tóc này thì lúc đấy thì chỉ có anh em thôi, kiểu như bố mẹ rồi cô dì chú bác gọi thân thiết làm cho em thôi, khoảng độ hơn 10 người. Đến làm gọi là những mặt hàng nó gọi là thô sơ thôi. Lúc đấy là mình chưa có công nghệ gì cả, làm những mặt hàng thô sơ thôi. Nhưng đến bây giờ thì em là có 2 cơ sở. Một ở đây là Nam Định đây và 2 là ở Hòa Bình, thì số lượng công nhân của em nó cũng phải gần 500 công nhân.
The growth of Mr. Kien's business in the last 10 years speaks to the development of Vietnam's human hair industry. He started out as a petty trader, collecting and selling raw Vietnamese human hair to buyers in China. As the demand grew, he ventured deeper into the beauty industry value chain to reap higher margins. With the help of social media platforms and e-commerce, he is able to sell his hair products directly to customers all over the world, from Africa to Europe and the United States. With a population of about 100 million people in Vietnam, Mr. Kien says the supply of human hair is abundant. But his key advantage to compete in the international markets with suppliers from China or India is not in quantity, but in quality.
Em cũng biết rất nhiều các loại tóc, từ tóc Campuchia rồi Myanmar rồi Lào. Thì em thấy cái chất tóc Việt Nam của mình là khá là ok, mà so với cái khu vực Đông Nam Á nói riêng thì là khá là đẹp. Tại vì cái chất tóc của những người như Lào chẳng hạn thì sợi tóc nó nhỏ, thanh. Thì sợi nó khi mà mình về mình gia công để bán ra sản phẩm ấy, thì có thể nó yếu. Còn người Campuchia thì anh biết là tóc của họ có vẻ là hơi xoăn.
Mr. Kien introduced us to one of his key suppliers of human hair in a village nearby, who was keen to show us her work in collecting hair. Tống Thị Tê's first customer today was a 13-year-old student who came to sell her hair to earn extra money to buy school supplies ahead of a new academic year. There's a special technique in cutting hair to get all various locks of hair of the same length without making it obvious that a cut was made. The whole process is done in less than 10 minutes. The customer received about $30 for nearly 100 grams of hair. And when these locks of hair are processed and ready for the market, it could be sold for about $300 to $800. Mrs. Tê was working as a scrap metal collector before switching to collecting human hair, an industry that afforded her the means to build a new house and transform the economic life of the whole village. She hopes her son would continue her business.
Cô bắt đầu làm vào cái ngành tóc này thì là và đến bây giờ là đã là 23, 24 năm rồi. Đấy thì là cô thấy là nó thay đổi nhiều mà. Cứ ngày xưa đi là cũng là đầu tiên là đi rong, cứ đi rong buổi từng rong vào các làng và từ các rong nhỏ kia. Xong là mình đi dần dần rồi là mình cứ mở rộng ra.
For many of her customers, Mrs. Tê said, selling their hair was a way of generating additional income for their families.
Có người nhá, đúng thật là người ta cắt cứ độ 1,5 năm, 2 năm một lần, là cứ có người ta cũng thu nhập được nhiều ấy. Đấy, người ta mua gà, mua vịt, người ta nuôi, xong đấy người ta cứ bảo đấy, đây này cái tiền tóc này mà tôi đã nuôi được như thế này, tôi đã tăng ra được ấy, đã ra như thế này, người ta rất là phấn khởi nhá. Đấy là cho nên là mình bảo đúng là cái tóc này là đáng chính ra là chỉ là cái đồ thừa thôi, mà cuối cùng là nó cũng làm cho bà con là cũng thu nhập được nhiều.
Aside from collecting hair from those who are willing to part with their luscious locks, human hair factories in Vietnam are also turning to discarded hair to ensure a constant flow of supply of human hair.
Đây là những kim mê này là bà con người ta chải nó rụng ra, người ta gội đầu nó rụng ra đấy, đây. Thế là về là bà con là giặt sạch đi thì bà con lại cứ rửa nó ra, rửa hết nó ra xong rồi nó thành ấy thì người ta lại cuộn lại. Đấy, khi người ta rửa xong là người ta lại cuộn lại như thế này. Từ ngày có cái nghề của các em nó lên thế này là bà con ở đây là thu nhập cũng được. Những người rửa tóc mang về này cũng được 4-5 triệu.
Collecting raw human hair is only the first step. There are a dozen more in the process. From washing and treatment of raw hair to a way to dry as many hair pieces in one go before the final products are assembled, packed, and shipped off to another country. There's an intense demand for human hair around the globe in the form of wigs and extensions. A quick search on the internet and I found many tutorials that uncover new ways to evolve one's looks. Mr. Kien also plans to evolve his business. He's exploring potential partnerships with Chinese companies and using the internet to expand in new markets through e-commerce. The majority of human hair used in wigs and extensions comes from China and India. Mr. Kien says Vietnam is a prime contender among the giants. So the race is on and in full swing as his factory gears up its production for the upcoming Christmas shopping season in the United States.
Human hair is an incredibly versatile commodity. It's used in composting, weaved into yarn. It's even used to clean up oil spills. But the vast majority of human hair is fashioned into extensions, weaves, and wigs like these. Globally, it's a $7 billion industry and growing. But as the industry expands, new questions are being asked about where the hair is coming from and who controls its distribution in the U.S.
I do promote eat your fruit every day.
Baker Penny is as quirky, vibrant, and delightful as the cookies she creates.
So I'm gonna do this one. It's called a wet on wet technique.
A nurse by training, she opened Penny Royal Bakery about a year ago as a way to foster community post-pandemic. She hosts cookie decorating classes almost every weekend, and with the help of her daughter Maggie, posts a lot of content to Instagram. But being in front of the camera meant confronting something she had been trying to hide: extensive hair loss at the top of her scalp, the permanent scars of skin cancer treatment.
Do you mind showing us what it looks like off?
Oh yeah, no problem. So it clips off really easily. And then that's the scar.
That's the scarring from the surgery.
Yeah. I didn't realize what a big deal it was and how it had slowly just kind of started really getting to me.
After a year of hiding the bald spots behind thick headbands and heavy synthetic wigs, Penny decided to try human hair. This topper attaches to her scalp
and it just clips.
Oh, wow.
Disguising the patches while seamlessly blending with her natural hair. The versatility, longevity, and imperceptibility of human hair wigs and extensions have made them extremely popular in recent years. According to Grandview Research, human hair products have now overtaken synthetic alternatives as the biggest moneymakers in the industry, accounting for 66% of global revenue in 2022. A market forecast to hit $12 billion by the end of the decade. Abba Wig salon owner Araceli Garcia says she's selling up to 4 human hair wigs a day, most of them sourced from China and India.
How can you tell that it's good quality?
By first, the feel of the hair. Feel it is very
really soft. Yeah, really
and smooth.
And I imagine that must make it a fairly expensive
yes.
product.
It does. This one is runs between $2,400 and $3,000.
Others can fetch upwards of $10,000, leading some to liken the industry to black gold.
I would say it became a global commodity in around 1920. There was a major trade in hairnets made out of human hair.
Anthropologist Emma Tarlow says the U.S. was importing hair as far back as the 1860s, partly collected from European peasant communities, but also from China, an early example of the globalization of fashion.
That it is something that is so intimate and so bound up with our identity, and at the same time it can be, removed, commodified, treated as a mere kind of fiber. And yet, when it re-enters people's lives, in the form of a wig or a hair extension, it also becomes extremely intimate again.
The U.S. remains one of the largest importers of finished human hair products in the world, and Black Americans are, by far, the biggest consumers, spending 9 times more on hair care products compared to other ethnic groups.
African individuals have this context of hair that symbolizes power.
Brittany Young has done research on the consumption of human hair by African American women. She says not only does hair symbolize power in the Black community, it's also historically rooted in racial disparities and the pressure to mimic white beauty standards.
Even today we see in the news that like Black hair seems unprofessional and needs to be tamed. And so the Black consumer really buys into this by purchasing not only hair products, but specifically in the human hair trade, right, the human hair.
Many of those extensions, weaves, and wigs are bought at small beauty supply stores ubiquitous in predominantly Black neighborhoods. Yet very few are Black-owned, just 10%, according to the Black-owned Beauty Supply Association. Instead, the vast majority are controlled by Korean Americans, who cornered the market decades ago and continue to dominate distribution and retail sales.
After the Korean War, refugees came into the United States, and so they opened up the stores and they networked together to do that. They didn't even speak the language. They didn't have to, because usually the Black consumer knows exactly what they want.
Being close to the supply side of the industry, which in the 1970s was in South Korea, and speaking the language seems to also have helped Koreans gain a foothold. But some Black Americans say there's been a concerted effort to keep them out of the lucrative industry.
Like you see, I have boxes everywhere. I haven't set it out completely.
Amanda Gakwe is days away from opening her own hair supply store, something she's dreamed about for years. But she says her endeavor hasn't always been well received by Koreans who control the market.
They didn't want any competition because I think they felt like if any Black person owned a supply store, most Black people go up there and purchase it, and they will start losing business.
Multiple requests for an interview with the National Federation of Beauty Suppliers, which oversees dozens of interest groups in the U.S. and has a large Korean membership, went unanswered. Technology appears to be the great equalizer. Amanda says it's helped her bypass Korean suppliers and set up her own direct links to Asia. But sourcing from the internet opens another set of challenges.
The human hair industry is rife with counterfeit products, like horse or yak hair being sold as human hair. The industry is also under pressure to adopt more sustainable practices. But one of the biggest challenges is ethically sourcing the hair itself. It's a highly unregulated industry, dependent on labor-intensive jobs done mostly by low-income women in Asia, raising concerns about exploitation and forced labor.
Love that you trust us to help celebrate, and we...
Whatever its source, for women like Penny, the hair is a gift.
I don't think I could do all this stuff if I didn't have it.
A chance to not only reclaim her identity, but to become a new version of herself.